Hey guys, this is Matt for Creative, and today we're talking about the state of cameras for a content creator, for a photographer in 2025. So in front of me, I have a lot of the cameras that I use, and I'll be talking to you about how I've kind of slimmed down what I've been using and what I've seen other people been using to kind of just maybe only one device. And again, this is shooting professionally. Now, first, this may be a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to tell you why. We are filming with an iPhone 16 Pro. It is one of my favorite all-in-one cameras, and I've taken this exact camera, this phone, with me to New York Fashion Week, shooting professionally, doing these videos on YouTube, and it's just something that can kind of do everything. But it's what I choose to film for YouTube just because naturally it shoots in HDR and it's exactly what I'm looking for, because I really don't do a lot of editing. If you know me, I just kind of like record and it's good. It's out, it's out, it's out, and then I just want to release content just so I have something out, because my mind always moves to the next thing very, very quickly. So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at all of these options here. Maybe what's going to be right for you, what's going to be right for people like me. But yeah, let's start looking at something that's very relevant for content creators. Now, again, we will be talking about this in terms of video and photos. But I would say this is going to be about videos first before photos. Photos have been very important. They are very important, and it's captured differently than video, of course. But it's a lot about the processing of these things. If you have a camera, let's say like this. This is a Canon M6 Mark II. This is my professional use camera. This is one of my favorite cameras. And this is one of the reasons why I don't feel the need to upgrade to any of the new Canon RF cameras or even another cropped censored camera. This one can shoot in 4K 30. It is great. The pictures that it takes are great. I believe it has a 32 megapixel sensor on here. Doing a great job. I love it. The photos on this are great. And by the way, we have one of my favorite lenses. This is the TT Artisan 35 millimeter f.95. It's an incredibly fast lens. It is manual focus. It gets a really shallow depth of field. You can also shoot basically at night. It's really cool. But for video in this case, because it's a manual lens, the other one that I use primarily is this one here. But these are manual focus lenses. So if I wanted to take this off, I would either replace it for video using, I think it's a Sigma 16 millimeter lens, or my favorite little on-the-go lens, which is this one. This is, what is this? The 22 millimeter f2, basically pancake lens. It's very small. It makes for any camera that you put it on to be like a very like street shooter, pocketable almost. It's just great. But when I'm taking photographs, it is probably going to be with something like this. Now, I don't really dedicate my time to taking photographs that much because the medium in which things are released has changed a lot. So first, let's talk about Instagram. You would think first, okay, no, we're going to talk professionally about magazines, publishing online, doing all of that, but no, Instagram and TikTok are the great equalizers. It's where everybody is going to be posting. Whether you are professional or not, you have to have a presence on there just to kind of go with it. Now, I know that Instagram and TikTok have been kind of, well, actually, maybe this was even a few months ago, even a year ago. They wanted people to post more photos on there, and they're kind of giving incentives for it. It's not really something that interests me anymore, and let me tell you why. When you take a beautiful photograph, you get the lighting right, you do everything that you need right, you get that person wherever they are, and you get that tiny slice of life, and you take that picture. And maybe you take more pictures, and you take a group, you do a photo shoot, you do a lot of things. The one thing that I don't like, and I think it's because I live in the city, I live in New York City, you don't get the atmosphere of the picture. You get, I believe, an overly curated image because of how much flexibility you have when you shoot photos, let's say in RAW format. In RAW format, that is basically a picture format that gives you really big leniency in maybe adjusting brightness, contrast, highlights, many different things, and you can almost change an image to whatever you want it to be. Let's say you take it and it turns out very dark, you did something incorrect, you can usually save that in RAW, and vice versa if something was really too bright. But when you take a picture, you get that one moment. Maybe you're shooting a model, maybe you're shooting a cat, a bodega cat, or something like that. What I like better, and I've said this so many times, is maybe short clips in the same style of photography, maybe pointing one way, not moving it, or maybe kind of panning along. You get that movement in video that, of course, you don't get in photos. But what I like is you get the background. You get the people walking on the street. You get, let's say, this is the subject and I'm taking a photo of this. If somebody's walking by, it adds to where you were at that moment. If you can hear sirens in the background, like ambulance sirens or police sirens, you know exactly what was going on. You can hear the birds chirping, you can hear so many different things. You get a greater feeling of what it actually was rather than going in and curating, because what I'll find myself doing is when I take a video, either phone, camera, whatever it will be, I'm going to not really edit that video. I'm probably just like, unless it's really like it turned out bad, maybe I'll brighten it up, maybe I'll do something else. But for me, I am going to shoot it, upload it, and it's ready to go. It's good to go and it's gone. What I find myself doing is, because I have so much, not bandwidth, but just so much flexibility in what I can do with a raw photo, either shooting with this or even iPhone can shoot pure raw or their Pro RAW format, which is kind of like a little compressed RAW. Um, because of that leniency, I just go and I'm like, okay, I want to brighten this up, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do all this because I want this perfect. And as of right now, of course, you can shoot in formats like log, again, on this camera or something like the little DJI Osmo Pocket, and you can still do a lot of editing. And of course, when you're shooting something, let's say, much more professionally, if you're shooting something that's cinematic and not just like cinematic style, but actually releasing a short film or feature length film, you're going to want to edit all these down. But if you're a casual content creator, I really don't see people, other than putting maybe filters on themselves, changing the background. Like they're not really changing the brightness of the background. They're not really trying to get that. It's more of just like where they were at the time, and they just want to release it because it's following a certain trend, and you want to get it out there. And I don't only mean trends as in like the music that's always playing. Trend is just kind of what the type of video that's currently popular right now. It doesn't have to only do with audio. But I just find it so interesting that I have basically every camera that I could ever choose to use, and I am slimming it down very much because of convenience and because of what it can do, to maybe even just a singular camera. So we took a look at our kind of more photography-based camera first, because I would say this is the old style. And again, this is why I choose not to go with the current Canon, Sony, Fujifilm cameras. You're getting the old style of camera, where this was kind of how you're doing it. You know, you'll turn it like this to shoot more for an Instagram style. But in all reality, the cameras should be oriented like this. The shutter should be like this. And if you've seen that new Fuji half-frame simulator camera, they have the camera facing this way, and when you shoot this way, it is vertical. And I think that's interesting. The price is way too much. It's almost a joke to me about how much they expect people to pay. But, you know, people are still buying it, so maybe the joke's on me. But it's just this layout is old. This layout is not what should be released for even photos, if not video. The new format is going to be like these kind of stick of gum gimbal cameras, or maybe not even gimbal camera, because we're going to be looking at some options here that you can shoot in different ways. But of course, this is the most popular out there. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. This is a beautiful camera that can shoot in either orientation. You can shoot it like this, where we have it here in 4K in 16 by 9, or you can do 9 by 16 if you orient it this way, and you can have it shoot in 3K, which is perfectly fine. You don't really need much more than 3K when you're posting vertically. What I've noticed also when I post this to YouTube in Shorts, it's doing a lot of like AI upscaling, because I don't believe it's uploading my 4K image. And I'm like, did I put a filter on myself? And I don't do that. And I find it really odd when it does that. So when you're posting to YouTube vertically, just think of things like that. When you post to Instagram, it doesn't really do the same thing. It's kind of just, it's really clear if you get those settings right. It can be very, very clear. But again, this is how people will be recording, and people have been recording ever since the original Pocket. We have the Pocket 2 here, very small but same kind of form factor, because what you mostly want a vertical video. So you're going to be holding it like this, or you're holding it like this. The mounting point, if I had the little extra piece, and I do somewhere over there, the thread mount is going to be at the bottom because you want it mounted like this. Now again, think of how we have this. We have that thread point down here, so you're mounting more for like, I guess, an old style traditional 16 by 9 horizontal video, like a long form podcast, whatever it may be. It's not really relevant. Now I've seen with the, what is it, the Sony is it the F3 or the FX? Wait, no. It's either the FX30 or the FX3, but that camera is beautiful, and it's almost getting, not quite, still same form factor, but it has so many places. I think this is like a basic necessity. They have like screw mounts everywhere. You attach your light onto it. You can mount it this way properly without having like a little swing arm kind of like going in and out, as we would have to probably do here, where it's like weighted on one side. This doesn't make sense anymore. Because of how much is filmed vertically, this doesn't make sense. But it's just, that's the old style. That's the old way of doing photography, doing video. Again, we want so much content on our phones, as I'm recording this on my phone, that's just where things are going to be moving. So this is kind of going to be the future of dedicated filmmaking. You get really stable shots. You get to walk around, you get to mount it. This even has, so I'm using a DJI Mic 2 that is plugged into USB-C on my iPhone here, but what this has that wireless receiver that you can put two mics on here, do your podcast, do whatever, don't have anything additional, because that's the one thing I don't like. The receiver has to be there, so it's always going to be in the way, and if you connect it by Bluetooth, the quality is just, it's not as good. It is basically not as good. Like, it is not as good. So we move from gimbals to, well, here's one more thing. So we talked about, let's say, traditional cameras, pocket camera. Again, I love the Canon EFM series. It's something I don't choose to upgrade from until there's something really relevant to do so. There's so many lenses out there right now that that really work out, that I think this just is something to stick with. Now, we previously looked at the 0.95 f.95 lens, 35 millimeter. It's just so shallow. But then here's another lens that I would recommend, because it's much more in tune to like film photography. This is like one of those this is like one of those little disposable lenses, disposable film camera lenses, because it is so flat, it is so tiny. But as you can see here, I don't know if you can see, this is infinity focus, and this one is one of the ones you can focus, which is, not all of them do this, but then I can get, let's see, can you actually see this? I can closely focus in on me and get some background blur, and that can work too. So how I shoot this, and how I probably shoot the other one, and maybe a lot of cameras now, is I love that kind of pocket camera flash photography, just like you were thinking like, oh, I'm at a wedding, I have a disposable camera, we're going to turn the flash. We get those flash, that kind of slice of life photography is something I find extremely interesting, just because you are capturing that moment. You know it's not natural because you have that flash. You're capturing people off guard. You're getting one image. You can't do that much of a burst setting with flash, or you do a lot less with flash just because of how long it takes the flash to recover sometimes, and some cameras don't allow you to do that. It all really depends, but I love that kind of like disposable camera photography without having the disposable camera, because we know how much film is costing, and to develop that film it's also costing a lot too, and it's not that great. But here I get to take as many images as I want until the battery dies or until I fill up my SD card, and this is great for just going out with friends, and it's something different than just having a phone. Now this is one of the things, again, if you haven't realized what my favorite camera is right now, this is how I don't only use my iPhone. It's because of things like this, because this captures the moment differently in almost a film-esque way, but I would say in a digital way that is not a phone. Phones will always be a little bit too HDR-y unless you use maybe like the Moment Camera app or another app that kind of reduces the amount of HDR-ness, fakeness. There's another, Project Indigo. I think it's by Adobe. They have a new camera app that really, I don't know what exactly it's doing. It's doing, I think, 7 shots and kind of merging them in, but it's making the pictures that I take on my phone here, pictures only too, by the way, it doesn't even do video, more real and less HDR. And what I mean by HDR is exactly this image right now. It's trying to capture this. It's making the blacks not really that black. It's kind of graying them out. I made sure to clean the lens just to make sure. But it's like, HDR video and photos, it just wants to kind of balance everything out just so you can see everything, see the shadows. But what I like is crisp shadows. And again, when you have this kind of flash photography, you get those crisp and deep shadows, and I think that really, really works. I want to touch on this camera because this is something I haven't used in a little bit, but this is my favorite instant camera. This is the Polaroid Go 2, and if you want, well, I was about to say, if you want that film look, which I get from this, but you want it on a real film camera, this is the one I would really go for. For film, 35 millimeter film photography, you realize I don't have one here. I have another camera somewhere else, but I really don't use it anymore. What I like about these, and maybe even the Instax line as well, is you will go out with friends. And again, this is more about being social than it is maybe you taking like architecture photos or photos of trees or photos of whatever you want as a street shooter. This is more of a social camera because when it prints out, you get that one image that you will keep forever or they will keep forever. And you can only choose one. Otherwise, it's like you can take a photo of it, you can have like, it's just a whole vibe of it, but you get to give somebody something. And I really love that. As a backup, another one that I really like, there is the Instax Mini Link. It's a printer that uses Instax Mini film. There's also the wide that uses, of course, the wide film. But when you're taking photos, you can take a photo on this and have the most professional photo ever, and then you can print it out on Instax wide film or Instax Mini film, and it doesn't give you that very crappy Z ink printer, because I know the Polaroid, they have their kind of bad printer. Instax also has the Evo series, which I consider it very bad printer looking. You don't want the instant camera to be printed out. You get too many digital artifacts, you get a bad quality image, it just doesn't look good. What you want is to take the photo from the iPhone, from this phone, maybe, and at the end, from the camera itself onto instant camera film. Just because it adds life to those, and then you can print that out as much as you want. But then that's a little bit more tedious. You gotta take the picture, transfer the photo out, connect it, the printer by Bluetooth to this, print it out, and it's not so instant as this. So when you're going out, I like doing that. If I'm doing some kind of event, I will, of course, shoot with this, and then, do the whole connecting everything kind of at the end, and just print out what people want and just kind of go with that. And that's good. I mean, that's how I want to treat photography. I want to treat it more socially. I know I've shot for magazines, and I've shot Fashion Week, and I did take all of my equipment with me, and I took good, um, not film photos, good digital photos on this camera with, I believe, a 56 millimeter lens. It worked out really well, and I really liked it. But I did use a different camera for about 90% of it, and it's still what I'm posting right now. Now, before we get to that camera, we have a couple more cameras here to look at. I want to go in the same vein of point and shoots. Now, this is one of my favorite cameras. Everybody should find, well, yeah, they're hard to get cheap because everybody's trying to jack up the price to make money, but this is my favorite small camera. This is the Sony HX99. Yes, the HX99. And what I love about this camera is that, look, it's so small, it's pocketable, it has a viewfinder. That's incredible. And it's not a bad viewfinder. It's a little bit pixelated, but it's just, it does exactly what you need to. But watch this. We're going from, oh wait, what does it start at? We've gone from 24 millimeters all the way to 720 millimeters. It is incredibly, incredibly long. And what I found is there's an account that is called What New York Wears, and they shoot just people out on the street, and I think they're using a long lens. Definitely they're using a long lens. I don't have that long of a lens. I only have a 56 millimeter, so I would be here with my camera. They would have to be about maybe 10 feet in front of me, and then I'd kind of get that shot. With this, I can stand in one place, and I go to places like Soho, and I will just stand and shoot. And it's literally, and you may think it's creepy, I hope it's not really creepy, but you can get those kind of candid shots of what people are wearing. You can get those great outfit looks, and you can kind of compile them together. And if they're always interested, I'll be like, yeah, of course you can follow me on Instagram. I can show them the images that I've been taking, but it is such a long zoom lens. It will do exactly what I want it to, with a little bit of graininess, but with not that much compromise. I would have thought, and I haven't really used this lens as much as I've wanted to, just because of how temperamental it is. Like, imagine you are shooting this 720 millimeters, you're trying to get that person lined up. It is hard to get it. You go this much over, you've lost your subject. It is just completely gone. But I find it so interesting that you have this option here. I think these cameras go for maybe about 300 or something now. They may be going up because I don't know if these are made anymore. I believe they may be, but it is just great. If you're looking for one pocket camera that does not feel like an iPhone camera, get this. Again, viewfinder, pop-out viewfinder, that's great. Flash. Not all cameras have flash, by the way, but we have a little flash here. And watch this. It has a flip-up screen. If you want to do any kind of, selfie walking, old style vlog content, if you want to shoot yourself and just have, your image there, you can still do that. I think it's a jack of all trades, and people do like the kind of old style digital content. So again, if you don't want this kind of feel, and you maybe don't want to go and be shooting too professionally, you can get kind of that digital look. And what I'd really like to do is shoot some videos with this to get kind of stylized content. But because I do product reviews, I'm trying not to do anything special that takes away from looking at the product itself. But maybe I'll do it for like a podcast. If we do like another long form podcast like this, then yes, it's a possibility that we could do that. Anyway, we are moving down to our last few cameras. I want to show you interesting little cameras. First, this is not really that interesting. This is an Action 3, DJI Action 3. Your standard kind of GoPro looking camera that, you know, is water resistant, kind of drop proof, even though I have issues with DJI and I don't believe they're really. Anyway, this is your standard, like you are going outside, it may be raining outside, maybe you want to mount this on your bike handlebars if you're doing motocross or something like that, or your helmet and snowboarding kind of camera, and this has been great. I like this camera a lot. I actually use it a lot, like when the Knicks won one of their series against Boston, I put it on a giant selfie stick, and I know you could probably do this with a 360 cam, but I've never been the biggest fan of a 360 cam. This, though, just all in one, I kind of know where everything is. I'll twist the bar going back and forth, and it just kind of works out. I like this camera, but what I like even more is this camera. And again, you've probably seen videos of me talking about this camera in a negative light. You can go back there. We'll talk about the negatives in another video. But I love this one because it is tiny. This can work with different modules. It has a front-facing module that you can pop on. It has just a battery pack. It has those magnetic mounting points where you can mount it on stuff. It is great. What I've actually been doing sometimes, first it has a super wide angle. Right now we're here at horizon balance. Look at it. It's still horizon balancing. It's a pretty great little camera, and I love to use this. What is interesting, though, is that, again, this is it. And this is one of the only ones I put a little lanyard to, because sometimes I want the Digicam kind of look. And you can get it by swiping over to camera, and you can just do 4:3 images. Now, there's no flash on this, but what I do a lot of the time is I will just kind of use this as the shutter on the side. We're shooting vertically, by the way. This is horizontal, this is vertical, and we shoot. And we have that. It took the image, and now it's ready to go. And it is like the tiniest. That's actually a funny image. Look how warped and distorted that is. But it's great to have, like, first, what I don't like about a lot of cameras that I have is all the Canon EFM cameras that I have, this camera, the Polaroid, the DJI Pocket 3, they are not waterproof. This one is, well, waterproof, water resistant, but you know what I mean. Snowproof, more or less drop proof. This is great because I can just go out, and again, no flash, so you kind of have to live in those limitations, and also it's an extremely wide angle field of view. You can always change that if you really want as well, but if you want more casual pics that look a little bit less HDR-y than this, you can get that. Can I zoom in on this? No, I cannot. Can I? No, I can't. But yeah, you get a tiny little pocketable option. This is literally the size, and it's not just like getting a camera from Amazon or Temu that is like world's smallest camera. This is something that's actually usable. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to do videos, you get extremely well stabilized footage here, and it just really, really works well. And this is it in its little case. You can pop this out, and this is literally the camera itself. It is a great little option. It's a fun option, but it's not the option that I use more often than not. Now, I guess this will be me showing the camera that I'm recording on, because that's my primary. We're going to be talking about the 16 Pro while looking at a 15 Pro Max, because functionally they are about the same in the way that I would use them. And I say that because this has your standard wide, your ultra wide, I think I'm pointing to the right one, and then this has the 5 times. If you get the 15 Pro, it only has a 3 times zoom. And I find the the 3 times zoom after, so 14 Pro and 15 Pro, to be muddy. It's honestly muddy. Here I have a 13 Pro with a ×3. I thought that was good. When they then moved up to the different sensor, different sensor that they're using for the 5X, it just didn't work out. It didn't work out in the first generation. It just did not look that great. But this with the 5X, it shoots beautifully. And again, the 16 Pro and the Pro Max, they both share the 5X. What will be coming up in the 17 Pro or Pro Max or Pro Ultra, or whatever they want to call it, is hopefully it's going to be a 48 megapixel sensor on the 5x, which means that you're going to be able to digitally crop in and get a usable 10 times zoom, which is going to be incredible. And the reason why I like that so much is when I was shooting at Fashion Week, I didn't always get the best spots possible. And I was kind of just like stuck, yeah, maybe at a subpar spot, but I still need to get my shots. I need to get my photos, my videos, and all I was doing was literally just using that 5x. And once it gets locked on, once you get stabilized, it is a beautiful image. And I shot all of that in 4K 60 frames per second. And if you look at the my other YouTube channel, M8B9, then you can see how I was getting these model looks. And I know other photographers and videographers try to get the entire ensemble outfit. I was trying to get literally just this because I want it to be more about the person who's walking with the clothing as opposed to just the clothing, if that makes any sense. So I was locking on and just going like this, and it turned out that those videos, they do very well. And I submitted them to the publisher I was working with at the time for that. No questions, no anything. And while I am glad that I brought this camera with me to get, I would say, crispier shoots, more flash, more just like traditional style photographs, I did not use this at all for video. I was using the iPhone for video, and I was using the iPhone for photography. And I think I ended up using it for about 90% of what I was doing. It is the way that you can shoot with this phone that lives in your pocket and shoot professionally and submit it and not be spoken down to or, said, oh, you're not giving us professional quality content here is great. And from the 15 Pro Max and beyond in the Pro series, I think this is what I need all the time. I go out and I do my photo walks, but when I take out this camera, I'm always worried. And here we are in summer 2025 in New York City. What if I get caught out in the rain? That would kind of suck, and that would ruin the camera. This is like $1,000 camera with a more expensive lens, well, $200 lens. But if anything happens to this, I'd be very bummed out. It's the same thing where if I have this, I'd be bummed out if I get rained out. Now, let's say there's no rain whatsoever, and I just want to go out, but hey, I want to go to an event later. Maybe something that I'm shooting professionally. In that case, I would have media credentials and could get in with anything. But let's say I want to go, and I know this, let's say I want to go to Madison Square Garden, and I want to see the Knicks play, or I want to see a concert. I can't bring this camera with me. I have to go home, drop it off, go back again. I don't believe I'm even allowed to bring this. MSG is very strict. I know your venues may differ. Or even like an action cam. When Brooklyn Mirage was a thing, who knows if it's ever going to come back, they didn't even allow these action cams. They had to be checked in. So all I was stuck with, and all I've been stuck with for a while, has been the phone that I choose to bring with me. Now what I do is, I have two phones, and we've talked about this. This has like free service on there, so if you want to take a look at the other videos, take a look, because that way I can use both of these. This one I have like my unlimited data, so if I take photos and videos, I can upload them immediately or transfer them or airdrop them or do whatever to a client that needs them. It's always ready here. But what I found is I keep two of these with me at all times, just so if I'm going to an event, I am shooting with this, I am depleting the battery, and then I'm fine because I still have, I guess, my primary device to get on phone calls, to text, to email, to research, to edit and upload and do all of that on here. But even if you don't have that kind of luxury to have two devices, you can still have one of these devices and get a battery pack and still kind of extend it like that, although it would kind of like heat things up, and it's just, it doesn't always work out. But this camera, with the different camera apps that are on there, again, like I mentioned before, the Moment Camera app and Project Indigo, for photography, it's feeling less iPhone-like quality for photography, because that's what I really care about. I think for video, more or less, I'm just trying to get a picture of a cool car or of a cat or like a restaurant that I'm reviewing. And if it looks a little bit HDR-y, okay, that's I don't care. And in fact, again, that's why I'm recording with this here, because it naturally does HDR on Instagram and YouTube without me having to edit or change any of the settings. It just does it, and that's amazing. But for photos, I don't want that HDR look in photos. And maybe that's why I've kind of turned away from using this for photos so much, and I've kind of gone back to like my digital film kind of emulation on this. But with these apps, they're just becoming better. Really, I would recommend trying Project Indigo. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I would really recommend it because it's starting getting a better feel. The vibe is better. Even without editing things, the vibe is better, if that makes any sense. Try it out. You'll see what I'm talking about. You won't know exactly what it is, but something's different on there. But that leads me on to this. We have all the equipment in the world, and I choose more or less to use this. And maybe you're thinking, no, he hasn't really done his research. He hasn't really done anything. Again, this is different for everybody. But everybody has a phone. Almost everybody has a phone in their pocket. And even if it's not the Pro iPhone, even if it's the regular iPhone, or if it's like an Android, or if it's whatever, a lot of these cameras are great enough to begin content creation, to begin just getting things out there. A lot of what matters right now is the personality of people, about getting in front of cameras. We know that AI is on the rise and soon may overtake traditional content creators, but for right now, where we are here in 2025, you have the best tool in your pocket to kind of record everything, to capture everything, either for yourself and your friends, or for your social media page, or for your clients if you're shooting professionally. You're shooting for your vibe. Down the line, if you want to get something more professional, more, I guess, respected, like a traditional camera, go for it. You can do it when you can afford it, or when you choose that that's the right time to do it. But for me, in my experience, shooting in New York City as a professional photographer and videographer, it's about the camera that can go anywhere with me. I know a lot of the times people are saying it's about shooting with the best camera possible, and again, that would mean this for video and photography, maybe this. I wouldn't consider this the best footage, but it is, I was going to say good. It's great, and it's always with you. And unless you've run down your battery to zero, doing something else, you can record your videos and photos on this, and it just really, really works out. But guys, there is so much more than just cameras. I guess, again, around me for this, I guess we'll call this a podcast. We've been recording on the GGI Mic 2. We've been having our studio lights 1, 2, and 3 in the back. And for research, we have a Mac in front of us. In case I needed it. I didn't need it today, but in case I needed it, we had this ready. So you can record with just your iPhone, or you can expand and do as much as you want. It's entirely up to you. Anyway, guys, if you have any comments or questions, leave in the comment section below. Don't forget, you can email me at creativenyc2025@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.